Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So the PBC have finally announced a fight. That fight being Sebastian Fundora versus Keith Thurman on October the 25th. Sebastian Fundora, of course, defending his WBC Super Welterweight title. Also on the undercard, O'Shaquie Foster's going to be defending his WBC Super Featherweight title against Stephen Fulton. That's a decent fight in and of itself. Right now, I'm favouring Fulton in that one, but I might change my mind nearer the time. I think that's going to be competitive. But we're talking about the main event, Sebastian Fundora versus Keith Thurman. Now, when I was talking about this fight on live stream a couple of days ago, there were a couple of people in the chat who gave Keith Thurman a relatively good chance in this fight. I have to be honest, I'm feeling the exact opposite. I think this seems like the end of a road for Keith Thurman. Sebastian Fundora is coming into this fight with really good momentum. Of course, he got upset a couple of years ago against Brian Mendoza. He's rebounded strongly since then, beat Tim Tszyu in his very next fight, becoming a unified champion. Then had a routine title defense against Chordale Brooker, destroyed him. And he then rematched Tim Tszyu again, July this year. And of course, he destroyed Tim Tszyu in their rematch, making a lot of improvements from that first fight. Notably his poise, his jab, and he really took apart Tim Tszyu in their rematch. And right now at 154, Sebastian Fundora is one of the top guys. His physical attributes alone make him a dangerous proposition for anybody because he combines that with good punch output, decent enough punching power, he's aggressive, he's young, he's fresh, and it actually still looks like he's improving. It doesn't look like he's got to his ceiling yet. And when you combine that with the size, like I said, he's a dangerous proposition for anybody. But when you look at Keith Thurman's not in the same position in his career. Keith Thurman is 36 years old, coming towards the end of his career. He's had a career full of injuries, and in recent years he's been very inactive. Just for argument's sake, since 2017, since March of 2017, he's had 5 fights. In those fights he lost to an ancient Manny Pacquiao, and when you look at his career in recent years, his last fight against Brock Jarvis was a blowout. But, Brock Jarvis was basically a super featherweight coming up. A super featherweight who got knocked out at 140 in a round by Liam Paro, and he went all the way up to 154 to fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman went through him, but even in that fight, Thurman was still getting caught. I struggle to say Thurman looked good in that fight, considering the level Brock Jarvis was at. But when you look at Keith Thurman's last few fights in recent years, even the fights he's won, he's not looked particularly convincing. The Mario Barrios fight, made somewhat of a meal of it. The Josecito Lopez fight, again, hard fight for Keith Thurman. Of course he lost to Manny Pacquiao. The last time where Keith Thurman looked decent was Danny Garcia. That was back in March of 2017. Not only has he been inactive, I don't think his performances have been that great. And I just look at where both guys are at in their careers right now, and again, I favour Fundora in a big way. Thurman stylistically, a few years ago, I think would have given Fundora trouble. Thurman is very explosive, he's athletically gifted, with quick feet and quick hands. Like I said, very explosive with decent enough power. He's kind of got like a sniping style at times, when he'll kind of get in and out and throw a one-punch big power shot, or a 2-punch combination. Kind of like similar to a guy like David Haye back in the day. He's got a similar-ish sort of style. He does throw combinations more, obviously, than a guy like David Haye, but he's got that kind of sniper, ambush type of style. And in his prime, it was pretty effective. But like I said, he's 36 years old now, coming off a lot of injuries. And when you assess his past performances in recent years, it looks like he's a fighter who is on the decline. I don't think he's got the legs, I don't think he's got the wheels to stay away from Sebastian Fundora for 12 rounds, personally. Fundora brings pressure behind that guard, behind that jab. He's very effective now at walking guys down behind that jab. It's a battering ram where he'll maintain distance and he can apply pressure from the outside. Fundora previously, for a big man, showed a great knack of shortening his punches on the inside. For such a lanky guy with a long wingspan, he could really shorten those uppercuts, shorten those hooks. He could work the body really well. But in recent fights, I feel like he's combined a better distance game with that as well. But he uses that distance game to apply pressure. Like I said, he can pressure behind straight punches. We saw that in the Tim Tszyu rematch. And that's going to make it even harder for Keith Thurman to box from range, to stay away, to maintain distance. And I think it's going to make him have to work that much harder. And again, with those 36-year-old legs, that might not be a good thing for him. I also wonder about Thurman's durability, just in general, in this sort of fight. You know, he's been close to going a couple of times. Like, Lopez had him hurt. Way back in the day, Collazo had him hurt to the body. That fight ended in mysterious circumstances. Pacquiao had him on his ass. I think as well, you know, this guy has been kind of talking from the outside for a long time. Hasn't really been willing to get in there. That's what it seems like anyway. And it feels like this is going to be a cash-out fight for Keith Thurman. And I do suspect when things get very hard, because Fundora's got that type of style where he makes things hard. I believe when things get hard, Thurman, I wouldn't be shocked if he tries to find a way out. I wouldn't be shocked if he just takes a knee from body shots and quits. I wouldn't be surprised if his corner pulls him out. But I expect Fundora at this stage, considering the size advantage, considering the momentum advantage, considering the fact that I think he's getting better, and considering that Keith Thurman is past his prime now, I expect Fundora to do a bit of a demolition job on Keith Thurman. Don't get me wrong, I can see Thurman having success early on with his speed. He might land some good shots, but I kind of expect Fundora to walk through it. And after 2 or 3 rounds, I think then it's going to start to get ugly for Keith Thurman. That's what I expect from Fundora. I expect a dominant win, you know, at this stage of his career, to really cement himself, to really kind of put that flag in the ground, to state his authority in the division. Thurman, you know, he's going to bring some notoriety to this event. He can talk, he's well known, and it's a great opportunity for Fundora to get himself out there even further. I've been impressed with his last couple of performances. I think he's getting better, like I said. And, I expect him to do a good job in this fight. I do. Thurman, yeah, he's got the experience. Yeah, he's got some stylistic elements that I think could give Fundora trouble. Like I said, the hand speed, the foot speed, but I'm not sure he can, because he's always relied on that. But I don't think he can do that for 12 rounds against such a big young guy in Fundora. I think Thurman's only real shot is basically to pull off a Brian Mendoza and land a big shot. A big knockout punch or a punch that at least hurts Fundora to the point to where he can follow up and maybe force a stoppage. That's where I think Thurman's only chances lie, really. To be honest with you, I can't see him outpointing Fundora. He's not going to outfight Fundora. He's not going to outwork Fundora. He's not going to outbox Fundora. I think he's got to land a perfect shot, personally. And, is Thurman going to be able to, will Thurman be willing to take that risk at this age in his career where the motivation doesn't really appear to be there? I'm not convinced that he will, but I think that's what he needs to do. I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to take risks in this one. He needs to be loading up, trying to land a knockout shot, ultimately. But I think it's going to be entertaining for as long as it lasts. I do. But yeah, I suspect and I expect Fundora to get the job done in good fashion. Fundora's one of those weird cases where he's kind of growing on me as a fighter. I get that he's a weight bully and whatnot, but he's kind of growing on me. It's not that I dislike Thurman either, by the way. I actually quite like Keith Thurman, but I don't think it's not his time anymore, put it that way. And I think he'll get demolished in this bout. Mid-round stoppage, I would say. I would say a mid-round stoppage for Fundora. I think he's going to go through him like a doorway. But that's my opinion. The undercard, like I said, good fight between Fulton and O'Shaquie Foster. Again, I am leaning towards Fulton, but don't take that as a prediction. I might change my mind on that one. You also have Jesus Alejandro Ramos Jr. against Shane Mosley Jr. as well. So there's that fight also. I think Jesus Ramos Jr. should win that fight comfortably. But yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on it. I've got Fundora by a mid-round stoppage. What about you guys? Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.